I know we've only known each other for 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me, it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days.
All right, all my passionate plant people, garden enthusiasts, welcome to the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch, I'm your host today. And we've got a really great show for you here today, and just a little bit later on. So hold on, we still got some stuff to do, but a little bit later on in the show, we do have our good friend Mark Valencia coming back to the show from down under, from self-sufficient me. Tony O'Neill as well joining the round table as well, our good friend. We see him in the chat all the time from Simplified Gardening. Gonna talk gardening around the world today. So that's going to be great. We're going to catch up with our good friend Mark in Australia, our good friend Tony over in the UK. I'm in the States and you're all over where you are. So we're definitely talking gardening around the world today on the Let's Get Growing show. We do kind of have a little bit of a different in the garden kind of setup for today, because we had to skip out last time because we've going through some things and stuff around here, but we're going to do kind of a little bit of a double header today for some in the garden discussion here coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to go check out some community gardening with our good friend Paul at Guten Gardening, and talk about some strawberries with our friend David Bowtie Life. So hold on there for that in just a minute though. But to everybody here, if you can, just right here at the top of the show, let's click that like button, hit the thumbs up there, as well as subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet already. Share with all of your friends out there and let them know about the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. We are here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. for those of you over in the UK, and as well, it's pretty early for all of you folks in Australia, but as we've seen around here, you guys seem to like to get up early, but we're up at around 4 a.m. over there in Australia and other different time zones as well too. So it's pretty early over there, but like I said, we do got our good friend. He's getting up nice and early to hang out with us as well too, Mark. So great on him to come and join with us here for this discussion. But yeah, here every weekend though, best we can anyways, as we've found out here recently. But huge shout out though to all of you guys. Huge shout out to all of you who are watching us on the replay on your time. Thank you for coming and watching the show and checking us out and see what's going on. We'd love to see you here live, but it's awesome to have you when you get the chance. Definitely drop into the comment section and let us know you're here. Let us know where you're growing from, what you got growing on. Just drop in and say hi if you just want to do that as well too. Just drop into the comments. Love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here and checking out our show here. And if you do have any questions or comments, if you are here with us live on the show right now, definitely drop those into our chat and in the discussion there. Jump into the discussion. If you haven't been in before, come introduce yourself. Let everybody know where you're growing from, what you got growing on. We'd love to hear from you. Everybody in our chat would love to have you in the chat with us. So definitely do that. And if you have any questions for our guests coming up here later for our roundtable and all of that, definitely drop those in as well too. Put them in big bold capital letters so that I can see them and mark them and make sure that we try to drop them into our discussion when we get a chance to do that. So definitely look forward to all of those questions, because this is your show too. So you're here with us live. You can join in on the conversation as well too. That's the great thing about this show. That's what I really love about it, is we get to hang out together and you guys get to participate in all of this and ask your questions of our guests as well as me, so it's great. It's great. I love it. So again, thank you all very much for being here, and as well to check out all of the descriptions below, or all the links in the description below, and to our guests and all of our other social media and all of that sort of stuff as well well too. So lots and lots growing on around here. I'm sure if people have been following along and if you've been here checking things out, you know things have been going on around here. But yeah, we're moving on, man. I think things seem to be going okay so far. Hopefully things will continue to go okay. We're going to run and play some video here in just a minute. So I guess we'll be checking that out as well. So hopefully all that goes okay. But so far so good, and looking forward to all of the rest of the show as well too. So let's get moving on today. Let's see who's in the chat with us here. Let's see here. The fun part of doing all of this here. Getting in. Let's see. First of all, we got to say hi to our good friend Jay Dixon joining us from Huron County, Midwestern Ontario, Canada. Sorry, the lee of Lake Huron. Thank you, Jay, for being here. Thanks for all you do. Everybody keep an eye out for links and discussion and all of that sort of stuff. Jay does some great facilitation of our chat. The J-Bot, thank you. And if you didn't get a chance to, yeah, you definitely got to go back to yesterday's show, and check out yesterday's show. We kind of did a trying to get back to normal show, and Jay was our guest yesterday. So if you haven't ever had a chance to meet our facilitator, Jay, you might want to go and check out that show yesterday as well, too. So right on. Thank you, Jay, for being here. Let's see here. I got Dusty Flats in the conversation. Thanks for joining us here. Let's see. I don't miss anybody else in here. I'm gonna everybody. That's one thing too that's really fun about trying to work through the conversation that we have here in our chat, though, too, is that you guys are so good at conversating with each other and talking with each other. So sometimes I've got to kind of get through your guys' conversation sometimes to see who's here and everything too. So right on. Excellent. And I see we got Coach with us here today. Good to see you again. Awesome to have you here. And yeah, so again, we've had lots and lots of things going on around here. See Rick joining us from Australia as well too. He's up nice and early from the future. Thanks for getting up, Rick. English Ladies Garden. Awesome. I see Brett in here as well too. Awesome. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. All right. Yeah, like I said, lots of things going on around here, but it's so glad to hopefully be back to normal and getting to hang out with you guys and put on some real shows around here and get things back up to speed. And again, thank you everybody for jumping in and helping us out to get us back to where we are too. I really appreciate everybody for all you did over this last several weeks. Right on. See you, Shawnee. Excellent. But yeah, here we are. Let's get moving on. We got, like I said, I got a little double header set up for us today. Luckily, one of them timing is kind of work between both of them, so it isn't too much and all of that. So we are going to kind of do this, and then we'll have our guests on, of course, just a little bit later here after we do our In the Garden segment. But first one we're going to get started with here today is Paul's In the Garden segment. He's taking us to go check out some community gardening, and we'll talk a little bit about that on the other side.
Hello, Let's Get Growing community. In our first video, we showed you our growing space here at Guten Gardening, but today I'm going to give you a little tour of a secondary growing space that we have in our community garden spot. And this video is going to serve a couple of purposes. One, I want to show you some of the possibilities of spaces that are out there, especially for those of you who might have limited growing space. Sometimes there are inexpensive ways to really vastly expand your growing space. Two, I want to show you some of the common vegetables that people here in Zone 5 Wisconsin are growing, maybe give you a little bit of garden inspiration. And thirdly, you got to take a look at our broccoli. For whatever reason, this year our broccoli has struggled to form really good crowns. And I want to know, and you can certainly chat about this in the chat as you're watching this video, but what has your experience been this year with broccoli? We've really struggled more this year than we have in the past with getting good, solid, large crowns. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this garden tour video. Take a look at our community garden space. I'm out here to do a little bit of work at our community garden space, and I realized something today. In the middle of all this weeding that I'm doing, got my weed eater out here to cut the edges. I've got so much in the way of squash. My corn is looking magnificent. The tassels are coming in now. This corn is about 7 feet tall, most of it. It's gearing up to be what I hope is the best corn crop we've ever had. I really haven't spent much time out here these days because I'm doing so much at home. You can see my kabocha squash is really looking good. This one actually got caught in the fence here, so I cut it out, but it's a really nice looking kabocha. I've got a whole bunch of kabocha this year. This is one of my favorite types of squash, and I really thought, hey, if I'm gonna take advantage of it, I really wanna get as much as possible. But here's what I realized. I realized that I've never really done a look around or a tour of some of the things that are growing in this garden space. Even though I've been here now, this is year number 4, I believe. So I thought I'd do a little walk around today and check out some of what other people are growing. So I'm gonna take a break from the weeds and do a little walk. One thing I really wanna see is if anybody's having better luck than I am. This is my broccoli. I have had so far some pretty bad luck with broccoli coming in and forming heads this year. I don't know if it was just a bad season, or maybe that's just me. So we're gonna be on the lookout for some other folks' broccoli to see if they're having any better luck. Here we got some beautiful sugar snap peas. Mine have actually already died back. I'm gonna do a video, if I haven't already by the time this is released, I'm gonna do a video on seed saving for the sugar snap peas. But this garden has some of our favorites. You see the kale, see Brussels sprouts that look like they're about the same pace or about the same distance along as mine. And the broccoli in here, I mean, yeah, if we look over here, I'm trying to get my shadow out of the way. And that's a better head than what I see on mine, but still not massive heads here. So I mean, for what it's worth, there's a little bit of commonality there. I see some beautiful cherry tomatoes of some variety. Green beans coming along nicely. My green beans and my green stalk are looking good too. All right, this person clearly loves their sunflowers. And who doesn't love sunflowers? We didn't grow any this year, but they're such a cool plant. Edible as microgreens when they're young. There's borage in here, the cucumber tasting plant. That's gonna spread, I'm sure. Now, one of the things that's definitely true as I walk through here is that different people take different amounts of care in terms of what they're growing. Sometimes these get abandoned partway through, and sometimes, just like me, I don't have a ton of time to get out here. Beautiful yellow peppers in here. They look like banana peppers to me, but people don't have time to get out here, and so we all make decisions as to how we handle that. Little winter squash in here and some summer squash here too, but we take care of it differently. So with me, I put down black plastic. This person put down some weed mat in order to cover the rows to keep the weeds down. I mean, again, the weeds are so plentiful in here once they get started, it's really hard to control. Oh, here we go. All right, here is an entire 2 rows of broccoli here. And you can see this one is harvested some off of. I can see a little piece harvested off there, but this head's not fully compactly formed. That's what I'm noticing, and I see that the whole way down this row. Maybe somebody had really good luck. I don't know what it would be about this year. We've had lots of rain this year. I do like what I see over in the distance. There's some onions, some kale, and then our row of peas into some beets here. Beets look like they're still pretty small in this garden. A whole bunch of carrots. I don't grow a lot of carrots in general these days, but it's something I do enjoy. Oh yeah, you can see these are red onions down in there. It always amazes me how much of a jungle these tomato plants can become. In just a short period of time, they can just become an entire jungle here. Some kale that's been harvested. You can see the harvesting of the leaves off the bottom. It just keeps growing up. It's a really great plant in this area. I do not know what this is. I'm gonna get in kind of close. If anybody knows what this is, you let me know in the comments. I have no idea what this plant is. It's clearly, or it looks to me to be clearly going to seed. There are little pods along the edge here. I don't know what that is. Yeah, so if you know in the comments, let me know. All right, some cauliflower here. Cauliflower seems to be struggling in here a little bit. The celery is not though in this plot. This plot has lots of celery, the dill, which is going to seed, squash, tomato. You can see some commonalities here in what people are growing. This looks like bok choy. So we got bok choy, Swiss chard. Look at the beautiful stems on that Swiss chard. Some fantastic looking cabbage. Oh, wow, doesn't that look good? Those are gonna be fantastic. But you see the common vegetables here. For those of you that aren't familiar with gardening in Zone 5 or gardening in Wisconsin, I mean, a lot of garden staples for sure. These are bell peppers. I'm imagining they're California Wonder, although I don't know for sure. The cabbage in here looking great. Again, the green cabbage, much bigger than the purple cabbage. We're growing a little bit of both at home, but definitely the cabbage looking fantastic, about ready to harvest. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of common vegetables here. You got big 5, big 6, 7 vegetables that people are growing just because they perform so well. Also, I mean, they're obviously very tasty. Yeah, I'm going to show you something really quickly before I move to anybody else's plot. So for a full-size plot like we have, it's $70 for the year. But you can get a free plot on the exterior of the garden if you want to grow pollinator-attracting flowers. I think that's a really good idea too. So we have people who come along, plant the exterior. They don't pay anything for it, but they grow things like these zinnias here in order to bring in more pollinating insects. That's absolutely wonderful. Great decision by the people that run this place. All right, we got some zucchini in here. Love a little summer squash, a little zucchini. It looks like one of the plants here is maybe getting hit by the borer. I'm getting hit by the mosquitoes. I thought I waited long enough the day to go by. Whoa, look at these beauty tomatillos. Wow, don't they look good? And I hear some bees down in here. I hear a jet over top. Wow, those look great. Oh look, so this person ringed their plot with tomato plants, and then the interior has squash, beautiful lacinato kale. It's a dark bluish purple almost. And then, oh my goodness, look at that kale. That's like a picture perfect plant there. And one thing I've noticed this year, a lot of people definitely still are putting fencing around the exterior of their plots, and I certainly did that for mine. But there are also quite a few people who are deciding not to put fencing around, and it doesn't look like their plants are overly disturbed, which is interesting because we definitely have tons of rabbits out here for sure. I also noticed with these onions, like this one's going to seed right here. I wonder how many people bring out their onions started from seed, how many people bring out their onions started from sets or starts. You know, that's an interesting question to me. This person's got the row covers down. I can imagine how nice everything looks underneath here, but look at these onions. Oh, wow. These onions look wonderful. This person did a fantastic job. These sweet onions. These look like Vidalias to me, but I'm not sure. Their beets. That's the F-35 you hear in the distance. Pretty loud, huh? Their beets underneath here, from what I can see. Let's zoom in real close. See if you can see that. They got 3 or 4 inch bulbs on those beets. Well, that garden plot is so well maintained, looks so good. Similarly, I mean, look at the kale. Again, kale, beans, squash, our brassicas all along here. But here, got some corn that's about 3 feet tall. I'm guessing that was planted pretty late. And when you compare that to the corn next door, which is 7-8 feet tall, this corn, whatever it is, hasn't even started to tassel yet. And it is a massive amount of corn in there. That's all right. This is all part of one person's plot. I think one of the things that's really cool too, onions, beets, peppers, celery, I mean kale, summer squash in here, winter squash. You can see just how much food you can grow in this area. Again, we get about 1,000 square feet for this. Looks like there's probably something here that's maybe already been harvested. We got collard greens here, tomatoes that are just loaded down, and then, you know, to see all the variety of corn, some of it tasseling already, some of it with ears on it coming in already, and then some of it not. Oh, this is just a wonderful space. I think it's pretty obvious that I'm not going to have time to go row by row, and it probably wouldn't be all that interesting to go row by row anyway, but it's cool to see where the focus of some of these gardeners is as well. So like this gardener has a heavy tomato focus. Maybe there's somebody who likes to can a lot. This is the onions that we were looking at from the other side. Again, balling up nicely, looking good. This person has created just a beautiful, relaxing space. Got some decorations in here. Beautiful lettuce over here. But seeing where the focus of different folks is, the focus of where folks is interesting to me, because you can really tell the likes and the things that people really enjoy eating. You can also see the different levels of maintenance, the different amount of time people have to come out here. Oh, it's absolutely stunning. This is one of my favorite spots right here. Some lettuce. Oh, this person's broccoli, that's better than mine. Oh my, by far. That looks pretty good there. Beans. Oh, wow. Look at the Brussels sprouts. Let me get in here real close. Look at the Brussels sprouts on these plants. So this person's Brussels sprouts didn't grow up real tall, but they got really nice looking sprouts on there. Far beyond anything I have right now. All right, we're gonna go ahead and head back over to my plot. This place is so cool. Boy, seeing all the different structures and ways people are working with the various vegetables. I absolutely love it out here. And there's no judgment here from me in any way, shape, or form in terms of performance, decisions other people make, not at all. I just appreciate the fact that people are out here trying to garden. And we all have things that work for us and we all have things that don't work so well for us. It's just amazing to me to see what everybody's growing out here. So you can see we have another 1,000 square feet on top of our garden space here that we're growing in. I would highly recommend, if you haven't done this already, if you need more growing space, look around and see if there are any community garden spots available to you. I know if you're in England, you call it allotment gardening, but this is something that in our neighborhood, again, 70 bucks gets us 1,000 square feet of space, lots of growing space for us, for the vegetables that really we don't have room for here. Some of our, you know, our winter squash, especially our corn, those types of vegetables. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video and I hope you have a great month. We'll see you next time.
Oh. There, where am I? Okay, boy, I got to get back to used to using those buttons. But wow, what an amazing community garden that was. Just unbelievable. And you know, I've got a couple of different community gardens that are around me that I've kind of gone in and worked with, and you know, I go over there and check things out every now and then and just kind of check in on things. I haven't actually rented a plot for a while because I get plenty of what I need here and everything, but I still like going down there and I still like going to hang out with them and checking out what they've got growing on and all of that down there. But looking at that community garden, that is just completely amazing. And it kind of reminds me, in fact, we played kind of a video of a trip I made to LA in one of our previous shows and live tests we've done here in the last couple of weeks, and it showed a segment of me trying to go visit this community garden called the Altadena Community Garden down in Los Angeles, or the Los Angeles area there. And it's huge and amazing. I thought it was just, I thought that was probably one of the biggest community gardens I'd ever seen. Had just beautiful plots, tons of growth, lots of serious gardeners just doing some really great gardening. And basically that garden I just saw there, right, that actually really beats the one that I saw down there. So wow, just completely amazing, really awesome. And again, community garden, just gardening when it comes down to it. This is a great way for those who don't have really very much space or don't really have growing space at all, in a sense. Some folks, you know, and I hear from them every now and then, you know, don't have like good sun. They live in an apartment complex or something, and they're facing completely the other direction, and they get shade all day day long, and they don't have really good growing conditions and stuff. But that's what getting out and checking out some of these great community gardens that we have in our neighborhoods, and checking out the local gardeners groups and clubs and things like that, where you can just go and find some great spaces and all of that too. Because even there's folks out there who would even share their own home spaces with you as well too. You can go out and try to find out through some of these clubs and groups and even community gardeners and all of that as well. So at least that's what I've found. And again too, it's community gardens are also just an extension of our overall awesome gardening community when it comes down to it. So I'm always really enjoying the conversations and getting to meet the people when I get down there and all of that. So a great thing to have in your neighborhood. If you don't, though, too, there are some great resources out there too. If you want to start one of your own community gardens and get connected locally with your local city, municipalities, whatever it is that you've got to work with in order to find some maybe some unused space that they'll be willing to allow someone or a group of people to come in and set up a really great community garden for the neighborhoods and all of that too. So something to look into. Getting out there and doing that sort of stuff is really fun, really enjoyable experience. And again, too, I used to, garden a lot out in my community garden and everything like that. But even if I'm not growing there, it's a good place to even go hang out, go find some friends, some garden people, find some local gardening community that you can go and, even get some advice from, if you're looking to deal with some issues and stuff. One of the big things too, and I saw people looking at that, and I was noticing too about the how well everything looked. There wasn't much pest pressure and stuff, but you want to find out information about how other people deal with all that sort of stuff or make their plants look that good. That's a great opportunity, is to go find one of those community gardens out there and go and hook up with all of those great local gardeners and see what they're doing. And maybe even you get in there and you're able to help them figure out something. You know what I mean? It's a really great opportunity when it comes down to it. So really great, Paul. Really awesome community garden. In fact, now that I've seen it, I kind of want to see more of it. So definitely go and make some more videos on that sort of thing too for your channel and everything. I can look forward to seeing later, because that place is really, really amazing. So, all right, like I said, we got a little double header for us today in the garden segment. As again, like I said, we haven't been able to do our shows now for a few weeks normally, because we kind of ran into some technical issues and some problems and stuff, and weren't able to do that. So that's why we're doing our double header for today and checking out two different in the garden segments. No worries though, David did make it nice and easy, a nice little video for us, but it's always great to check out what David has growing on over in his garden too. So let's go check out what he's doing with the strawberries over there.
Hey there, friend. First off, I want to thank Enoch for having me as part of today's In the Garden segment. I've been watching what's being grown in tight spaces, balconies, and windowsills. And let me tell you, it's inspiring. Today I'm bringing you a simple trick to stretch your strawberry harvest without spending a dime. You don't need acres, just a pot, a patch, or maybe even just a windowsill.
Now, if you caught last month's segment, we tried propagating citronella. We took 14 cuttings, and full disclosure, we lost 4, but that's okay. Chad from Down Home Backyard Gardening stopped by and made one more cutting, and today we've got 11 strong rooted plants. And get this, the mother plant's already gearing up to give us another 18. It just goes to show propagation doesn't require perfection. It just requires trying. And today's strawberry trick, even easier. This was our main strawberry bed. Beautiful for the first 2 years. Then life got busy. Weeds moved in, runners took over like it was their job. In 2023, we pulled 20 pounds of fruit. By 2024, barely 2. That was my wake-up call. So I started over. A fresh 12-foot bed, only 2 mother plants, And this is where it gets fun. We're going to fill this whole thing using only runners. No spending, no nursery trips, just a little patience and maybe a paperclip or two. Strawberry runners are baby plants on a leash. Here's how you turn one into full-grown producer. In a vertical planter like a green stalk, just tuck it into the next pocket. In a pot or window box, set a cup of soil nearby, drop the runner in, and pin it gently with a hook or a twisty tie. On the ground or in a raised bed, just nestle the node into the soil. No root stimulator, no secrets, just soil contact. After about 2 weeks, you'll see the little roots starting to take hold. That's your cue. You can snip the runner and plant it somewhere else. But here's the great part. You don't have to rush. That baby strawberry can chill in its little rooting cup for a few more weeks, even several until a spot opens up. Tuck it into a bucket, a pot, or your neighbor's unguarded flower bed. Kidding, mostly. These plants are hardy. They don't need pampering, just a place to grow. Once planted, just water and wait. Here in Zone 9B, they'll be growing into fall and wake up strong in the spring. For folks up north, tuck them in with a little bit of straw or leaves over winter. They'll nap through the cold and pop back up with purpose.
More Than Farmers over in Ohio has a great system for overwintering. Check their channel if you're further north.
If you've ever spent $5 for a single strawberry start, this next part's going to feel like a superpower.
Urban gardeners, this is your secret weapon. Whether you've got one pot or a patio jungle, strawberries multiply themselves. You don't need more space. You need strategy and maybe some coffee cans.
The real superpower? Once you've got the hang of it, 4 plants can give you 40. Propagation turns your limited space into a little factory of flavor without you spending another dime. It's gardening, yes, but it's also multiplication. It's freedom from overpriced nursery trips and a big win for tiny spaces.
And with that, this little plant is part of next year's harvest. And it cost me absolutely nothing but intention. If last year's garden didn't go as planned, just start over. Urban or not, your strawberries can spread joy. Now, if you're over on Instagram, please tag us at bowtielife_garden. I'd love to see how you're propagating in your own corner of the world. And of course, always remember, your garden doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. Have a blessed day.
All right, all right. There we go. I got that right that time. Excellent, David. Awesome. Like I said, nice and easy segment there, and nice and easy to propagate. Strawberries, absolutely one of my favorites too. I love strawberries, and again too, I love things that are just easily propagated, like strawberries are too. And I'm working on trying to propagate a lot of my runners right now this year too, because again, we've got to replace these things every so many years as our berries. When you start noticing those berries start getting small, it's probably time to be thinking about switching out some plants out of your different spaces that you have. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do this year, is collect some new plants, get them started. Plus I got this whole space or fence space that I have on the back patio that I've been thinking about for years, that I want to take and put up maybe even like a gutter system, or I've got these cool little pocket things that some company sent me years ago, and I was thinking about maybe putting those up there and just maybe growing just a bunch more strawberries, because again, they're one of my favorite things to grow. They don't really require much space, as David was talking about there. They're perfect for small space gardens. They're perfect for small little pouch patio garden systems like green stalks or tower garden towers and things like that as well too, or whatever types of those things you can make. They're perfect for all these different little things. Like I said, gutters. You can find some old gutters or taking them off and replacing them, use the old ones to make some cool little things on your fence like I'm planning on doing. Strawberries are just really, really awesome for being able to do that, and to propagate, and to take just a few of them and have a whole bunch just years down the road too, just from a few different plants. So really great, really awesome. I love my strawberries plants too. One of the other things I'll mention too that that I do a little trick that I figured out in my strawberry propagating too is I take paper clips and I get big, find big paper clips because I get nice big paper clips, and then you kind of cut them you cut them at just the right spot, and they can make a perfect little spike that you can use to kind of push those little nodes or things down for the strawberry, the new little ones off of the runners. You can just set them and hold them and make sure that they stay right in the exact spot that you want them to grow in. Instead of worrying about them falling or flopping around anywhere, you can tag them down with that and just use paper clips, and you just get a little wire cutter or clippers and clip them and use the little curve as a little stake, in a way to stake them down. But yeah, really awesome, really great. Thank you both to Paul and David for a couple of really excellent in the garden segments today. Thank you for taking us into your guys' gardens and showing us around and seeing all of that awesome stuff that you got growing on there. Really, really great. And yeah, so let's take just a moment here, and we'll be right back and catch up here with our guests that we have for our roundtable today. Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits. All right. You know what makes me smile in my garden? The whole thing right now. It's just that time of year. It's just kind of midsummer right now. Everything's really just growing and everything, kind of like as we saw there too, and in the garden. All these things just growing awesome, and everything's at this kind of point where fruits are forming, and our corn's tasseling, and just it just, you take a look at the whole scene and it just looks really awesome. And I was out there before the show, walking around, checking things out, and really just the whole thing made me smile today. So really, I think, and maybe that's just a easy answer to the question when it comes down to it, but it really is the case. I just sat out there going, oh man, some things are just a little bit better than I thought. Some things are probably not as best as I thought, but for the most part, everything looks just really wonderful out there. And it's a nice space to just kind of go hang out in and really just, like I said, bring a smile to my face. And right on. So again, as I mentioned earlier too, if you didn't get a chance to check out yesterday's show, we just kind of did a fun little kind of hangout, another kind of test run almost, but trying to get back to a normal show yesterday. So we hung out with our good friend Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop, came and joined with us to hang out, and we talked all about what she's got growing on in her garden and all of that as well too. And it was just really fun to kind of have her on the show live with us and did some live trivia. So we hung out with Sarah. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we had our good friend Jay Dixon, the J-Bot from the chat, our facilitator, came and joined with us live as well too. So if you did want to get a chance to meet either of those two contributors to our show, definitely go and check out yesterday's show and see what we had growing on there. Plus, you can check out some of our videos that we have as well too. releasing, coming out. And again, as I've been mentioning, a lot of the stuff going on, I haven't been able to get some of the videos done because of our computer tech stuff that we've got going on. But I can get back to normal here real soon and get some videos coming out. But go and check out our peppers series. This is what I'm really kind of proud of this year so far. We're going to get some videos coming out, catching up, do a little tour of all of the different pepper plants that we started with from seeds in our growing peppers series we've been doing. Like I said, this is part 9 was the last one. Part 10 coming up is going to be our rooftop peppers. We're going to get some peppers growing up on the rooftop. We've got some things that I've kind of noticed and discovered since I've been able to film last even too, that we'll talk about and show you as we're getting up there with these plants versus some of our other plants. And then again, like I said, we'll quickly hopefully get right into a cool kind of catch-up garden tour of the peppers individually of those. And then what I want to do too for our regular garden journal videos is put out a full garden tour, just kind of a walkthrough garden tour. We kind of did a little bit of that. I think this last weekend, I did kind of a little bit of a picture tour to take everybody around and show you guys around the garden during one of our test shows last weekend and all of that. So yeah, we'll do that for the whole garden, do a good video for the garden journal. Nice summer garden tour of all of Oh, my camera. Is my camera having issues? My gosh. Again, hopefully we're not still having issues around here. Hopefully everything's still going all right. And hopefully that was just from my side. Okay, maybe. Okay, I guess it was video and audio. A little frozen freeze there. Oh, the tech issues, I guess, persist to a certain little bit. So we'll just kind of have to see how things continue to go here. I think something coming from here, as I was saying, maybe again, we were talking about there might be one other fix I might have to think about doing as well, too. So hopefully things will continue all right, and we'll be able to continue going forward. And again, we're just having too much fun around here when it comes down to it. Right now at the moment, let's see here. I'm waiting for one of our other guests. I got one, I think, in here. I'm not sure if they're ready or not. So we'll just kind of hold on here just a minute or two. And when we get that all set, we'll get them coming in here as well too. But like I said, we got lots of cool stuff coming up here in the garden, and doing some tours, talking about what we've got growing on, and I'll be sure to hopefully get that all taken care of. Hopefully we'll get a lot of this other stuff figured out as well too. So let's see here. Okay, yep, okay, all right. Make sure, okay, all right, I see there, and then make sure they're good to go. All right, and I'm just not seeing. I know Tony's in the chat, so if Tony's all ready to go, I think it's time for us to get moving on here today, and it's time for a garden roundtable. All right. Let's welcome to the show. Back again to the show now, which is really great, really awesome. I was so happy to have him the very first time, and here we are already having him back again with us too. Our good friend, Mark Valencia, joining us from down under in Australia from the Self-Sufficient Me channel. Let's see if I can't get this popped up right. I hope Tony's ready to go here. I'm going to pop him up here on the stage as well. All right. Oh, I don't know if he is ready to go. All right. Let me take him off for a second. I thought we might be ready to go. But anyways, it's us, Mark. Yep. We'll take on. We'll wait for Tony for a second here.
How you going, mate?
Doing pretty good. How are you been?
Yeah, good. Coming through nice and strong, am I?
Yeah, you're going good. Hopefully I am. And we've been dealing with a bunch of different tech issues and trying to get things figured out around here. I don't know. I think I got one more fix I got to try to work on around here. Maybe we'll be okay. But hopefully everything holds on well throughout the live stream. And you guys,
Yeah, that's live streaming, mate. You know,
it's just the way it goes. Yeah. You gotta rely on all this stuff, you know what I mean, to make everything happen. And sometimes it just doesn't want to work all correctly. So, all right, let's see here. I think we got our man Tony with us now. Let's drop him in. Hey, Tony.
Hey, guys.
How are you doing?
Mate? How are you,
Great
Mark?
to see you
yeah,
here.
good, Tony. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Not bad.
Excellent.
I had the wrong camera connected. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no problem. I was wondering. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if he's ready or not, or this and that. But yeah, excellent. It's great to have you here. Thanks again for being here, both of you guys. Of course, just being here is such great support for our channel and our show and all that sort of stuff. Real quick, though, too. Sorry, Mark here. I just want to say something to Tony real quick personally here. Thank you so much, man. And like I told you, I just have to, I have to tell you now, I have to take this opportunity. We had some real bad technical issues here with the show, over the last few weeks, and Tony really stepped up and really helped us out big time here. And that's why one of the main reasons why we're back here and even doing this show today. So really, thank you so much, Tony, for all you did there. Really appreciate it. Anyways, let's get to some gardening and what's growing on around the world here. Mark, one of the fun things I think about this kind of gardening roundtable, and we kind of touched on this just a little bit last time you were on the show and everything, is just kind of the gardening from two different hemispheres, literally two different parts of the world. And, for Tony and I, in a sense, we are really two different parts of the world ourselves. Even, I'm over here on the west coast of the States and he's up there in the UK, but we're up in the northern hemisphere. We're working our way towards towards the end of summer here and heading towards fall, and you're working your way through the end of winter going towards spring. So I think for sake of this conversation, I think we'll do a little bit of time traveling in a sense here when it goes down to it. We'll kind of go back, Tony. What we'll do is we'll do the first bit of time traveling here, and we'll kind of go back to, where Mark was at, as we're coming out of winter, going into spring and all that sort of stuff. But first, let's start with Mark, though. Let's talk about a little bit what's growing on, what's happening down there in Australia. What are you getting prepared for in your gardening season?
Well, it's strange in the subtropics because it's a bit like Florida. You can grow all year round.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's good because you can grow just about anything all the time. But it's bad because it gives you a false sense of security, because even though things will, like, you might be able to grow hot peppers or chilies here through winter, but they don't grow very well at all. So new gardeners make the mistake of planting a lot of things through our winter time that really suffer a lot and really shouldn't be grown until our spring hits. So there's some really fine technical things there for new gardeners that like baffle them. And then to make it even more complicated, you shouldn't be growing tomatoes at this time of year where we are, but I grow our larger varieties of tomatoes at this time of year, even though they're suffering, because it's the only time you can grow them without the fruit fly damage them, stinging them and damaging and laying grubs inside. It's not the fruit fly, your kitchen fruit fly I'm talking about. It's the Mediterranean and our native Queensland fruit flies that just smash our large tomatoes. So if you grow them in the normal season, like coming into spring when it's warming up, they'll grow fantastic, but you will not get one tomato because they'll just keep getting stung. So unless you go through the process of bagging or netting them, which even then isn't a lay down misere, because they can still get through. So if you sort of work hard at it and you look after them and you put them in a really sunny spot, well, then you can grow these larger varieties and you can have a lot of success with them. But there's a few technical difficulties there to do it. So yeah, it's tricky. It's good in one way, but it can be tricky in other ways.
Yeah, that's so true. And again, too, that's cool benefit, I guess, in the kind of zone. I guess you say that you grow from and everything, with that ability to do year-round things, so that you can kind of play around with some of that stuff and be able to do those sort of workarounds and everything. But how about for you, Tony? You know, back in the, you know, again, kind of like back as the season was getting started and getting going, and you know, how did that, you know, how was that all go? How did that all go for you? And then maybe kind of compare that, your start, to kind of where you are today and expectations, maybe.
Do you know, I actually, normally in the beginning of the year, I'm really struggling to keep up, because obviously I've got such a large garden, I'm working full time, and coming out of winter is like one of our busiest periods in the fire service. So I tend to be doing lots of overtime or covering other people's shifts. Right. So I really struggle with it. But this year it was really nice, because I was ahead of myself, and it meant that everything was really going well for once. And you know, when you're online, you can make things look really good, or you can show people, look, this is the reality of gardening, you know. And for once, for this year, like, I would like to say, like, you know, pretty much everything went really well. And it doesn't matter where you are, you all have your own pest issues and everything else that attacks. But like Mark said, it's beginner gardeners, they struggle with knowing exactly what can grow, when it can grow, when we should sow it for the best results. Because you can sow brassicas any time of the year and they'll grow, but they're not going to grow to their best. So, and we find that a lot, you know. So I see loads of people have come onto the allotments recently that have been relatively new, and they're putting up pictures in the allotment groups of things they've sown, and I'm thinking, oh God, you know, you know, 6 weeks time that's going to be flat on the ground, you know. And sometimes they don't want to take the advice, you know, so you have to just let them get on with it, like, you know. But yeah, it's been a good year for me so far, really good.
Excellent. Yeah, and again too, I kind of feel that same thing myself, you know, with my garden and everything as well too, in the sense that you know, learning, for one, you know, the great point with the idea of beginner gardeners knowing about plants and when to get started, and I think a lot about that in the sense of when I first started gardening myself too, is, you know, you just go buy all the seeds and you go get all the different plants and you get started in spring, right? And then you just get going and all of that sort of stuff. And I think like garlic was a huge one, right? That's one I think is a big learner for all gardeners and stuff, because I did that. I planted it right in the spring. So I knew to do cloves, but, you know, I planted them right in the spring and didn't get the results and everything. But luckily it was quickly, I could get right back on it that fall and get started and get a crop for the next year and be right on it and figure it out. But that is a big thing to learn though, right? You know, especially in what we're talking about today in our different seasons and what we have and all of that, is that things grow at different times optimally better. You know, there's cold season crops, there's warm season crops, and there's, you know, and they just kind of have a certain timing to them that new gardeners just kind of, you know, I got to work into and get used to and learn about.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue for new gardeners is the back of the seed packet.
Yeah.
They take it as gospel, and they're not taking into account the microclimates and, you know, what can grow in my garden 2 gardens away, it might not grow there because of it's a different microclimate, and they just take this information off the back. And I understand the seed companies need to give a generic sort of thing, but people are just taking that as, well, the seed packet said I can sow it now, you know, and yet, you know, it's 3 degrees outside, and you know, they're just not looking at what's going on in their garden and thinking, right, okay, let's take stock here. Is this going to actually be beneficial for me or not, you know? And it's learning that people, you know, who have gardened for 5, 10, 15, 20 years already know that, and newer gardens just haven't learned that yet. It's just time.
Yeah, I think it's worse than that. If you look at local nurseries, like our local Bunnings here, it'll sell you all the seedlings you want, but even at the wrong time of year. So you'll see these people they'll be walking around with a trolley full of all these $5 punnets of veggies, of seedlings, and you'll be thinking, you're no way you're sowing them at this time of year, you know. But
when they got carrots in a little tub like that, I'm thinking, oh, really?
Yeah, they're just getting ripped. At least with a packet of seeds, it gives them some chance. But yeah, not with seedlings. They're so expensive most of the time, you know, unless you get them from the markets maybe. But even the local markets are better because they'll usually sell you things in season. But the local the commercial nurseries, they'll rip you left, right, and center.
Man.
That.
Oh yeah,
I'm telling you, and I do, and I really upset a cashier a couple seasons back. I was, you know, I go through and I peruse and I'll check things anyways, you know, because again, you can probably find some really good deals at those commercial places, right? If you can find some sales and stuff. So I'll do that. But I was standing in line once and this poor lady was up front in the, just about to purchase this lettuce that was literally going to seed. It was literally producing a seed stock right there. And I was like, ma'am, please don't buy that. Not unless you're trying to collect seed. And I tried to explain it to her, like, stop in the line for one. The cashier was upset that I was stopping the line for one, but yet I was getting her to like not buy like almost like a flat of these, you know, of these lettuce, you know, that were all going to seed. I was like, ma'am, please don't do that. And that's gonna be a waste of money. And yeah, they will. They'll just sell it. They don't know. A lot of the cashiers just don't know. In fact, commercial places like that, the folks who are taking care of the greenhouses are probably not trained and all that stuff to know better and a lot of this stuff as well. So yeah, they'll just sell anything. That's just terrible. Yeah, and there's so many people who shop there.
Just as bad. Oh yeah, supermarkets are just as bad. They roll these trolleys of plants in, you know, and they're never watered. You know, they're wilted within the first day, and they still sell them for a week afterwards. There's no chance of them going. And then new gardeners are wondering what they've done wrong, and it won't even their fault. Like most of the time.
Yeah,
no doubt. Have you ever had to resist the urge to go find the hose? Like, hey, do you guys got a hose around here somewhere that we can start watering some of this stuff? You know, I don't really got the time to, but these plants are desperate.
It's crazy, you know, if they're gonna do stuff like that, at least have someone who's got a little inkling of, okay, this needs a drink. Like, you know?
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah. Let's see here. I think we got a question. Let's see. Let's Otai's earlier question. I want to drop in some questions here real quick because I see some coming in here. Mark, how does gardening in Australia differ from what you see online in the US or UK? So like, yeah, you're gardening down there, but I'm sure you're still seeing a lot of different gardening content from up here and around, you know, so how do you feel it really differs?
Well, there's not a lot of difference at all, except that things are getting grown at different times of year.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of, well, I think most of my advice from overseas gardeners and tips and tricks. I learn a lot from the UK and the US and Europe. And I think that's part of my gardening success was even in the early days, I'd get on YouTube and I'd watch anyone and then apply it to my own backyard here in Australia. And then, you know, you get your base and then you start experimenting and then you get good at it because you're always into it and you're experimenting. Then, you know, like Tony was saying, what grows best in your microclimate at whatever time of year. The thing that kind of annoys me a bit is that I'll get emails and messages saying, you know, or even my book that I shameless plug, but I wrote.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Finally wrote.
I know.
But I'm getting emails saying, does this book apply to me because I'm in the US, I'm in the UK, I'm in Portugal, and I say yes, of course it does. You know, because gardening is universal. It's only just the time of year that changes when you can grow certain things. And of course, if you're in a really extreme climate or a cold or a hot climate, you might not be able to grow certain things that I can grow. Like, for example, I can't grow mangosteens because it's just a typical tropical crop. And even though I can grow just about everything in the world, there are a few things I can't grow. And I can't grow garlic that well either, where we are.
Yeah,
that's just a fact of life. I grow it okay, but not fantastic.
Yeah, like you're saying, similar. I hear from folks in Florida as well here. That's the same sort of issue, that sort of.
Yeah, but so the bottom line is it's pretty much all the same. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the fundamentals are the important part here. Is every single gardening trait is lined in a fundamental. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. The basics are the basics, and it's only when you need to adapt that to your climate or your conditions of your soil, then everything can be done. Like Mark is saying, everybody should be looking at channels and learning from a wide variety of people, and then pulling pieces out that suits them for where they are. And that's the great thing about YouTube.
And I was going to say, you probably hear similar things about your book, get similar types of responses as well too, huh, Tony?
Yeah, but
does it work for me here? Compared to where you
you say that, like Mark was saying, my first book, the composting one, I had all the same things, and then my third book, like again, it went bestseller.
Now you're just showing off.
Chuffed a bit. Yeah, sorry, Mark. I'll show you now. But it won an award as well the other day, and it was in America. So, but my point here is the fact that so many people in America were buying it, and it's a completely different climate. So they realised that the fundamentals are what's important, and that's what I was getting to. And you're always going to have new gardeners worrying whether the information's going to be relevant to them, but when they understand that the basics are the basics and they can turn anything to suit them, then any book is a good buy.
It really is. I love it.
Good advice.
And again, I'm a huge one of the things, and I'll do a little plug here.
We're all plugging away.
But we do have our monthly gardening book club. Tony's been in, and now that Mark is now an author, we might have to have him on for our book club as well too. But we it's such a great point, Tony, is that, and one of the things we find with our book club, and as we're talking about and examining all these different gardening books month to month, that it's really the information is really good all around. You know what I mean? When it comes down to it, you just have to, in a way, kind of learn as a gardener how to apply it to you and your space, your climate, those sort of things, right?
Yeah, and you only have to learn it once. I mean, it's so basic, it's so easy.
Yeah.
Once you get it, you've got it. Take a few notes. You grow a bumper crop one year. You understand then that window and the things that I did worked, and so you repeat that process, and unless a disaster happens or you get, like a farmer, untimely weather, pests, some things just happen, and you've got to understand that too, that you do fail in gardening no matter what, no matter how good you are at it. That's another, I think, appealing thing about gardening, is that you rejoice every time you have a great harvest, because you can do everything right and still have a poor outcome.
That's
we've
right.
all been there.
Don't tell me,
we got to say in your winter is a great reset. You don't have that really, Mark. So you just have to bundle through. But you're right. And the good thing is it's very forgiving, isn't it? If you kill something, guess what? You've learned from that, and off you go again.
Yeah, that's right.
Just really, and it's hard to really there's so many really good first pieces of advice to give a new gardener, but really I think ultimately when it comes down to it, it really truly is probably the best one, is just kill some plants.
You're gonna say timing.
Don't be afraid to kill some plants. I mean, timing, all this stuff, you know what I mean, are really important things as we're talking about. And which one really is the first one you should say to a gardener that's getting started? And I guess my first one, and I really think, is ultimately, don't be afraid of killing some plants. Don't be afraid that things might die, not end up the way you want them to, all that sort of stuff. And then
don't be afraid to experiment.
Yeah,
exactly.
Thing.
Because then you can squash that kind of sense of you're failing. You know what I mean?
Well,
just
it's
do
like
that
in
right
Mark's
from
garden.
point, you know?
He's got bananas everywhere, right? And we're talking now, Mark struggles with some things like garlic. Now, I can grow garlic like, huge and everything else. But yet, I've been trying now for 6 years to get a banana to fruit here. I still haven't had. I got plenty of bananas, the plants, but getting them to fruit is just, really difficult here. And I will do it one day, but you have to wonder how much effort has gone into that. Is it really worth it, because I'll probably get them out and they'll be about this size, the bananas, But,
good on you. Good on you for having a go at it. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah. Exactly.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, and I'm growing, like I've grown several varieties of olives, and over the last 16, 17 years, I've got 10 kilograms off our trees, and that was mostly on one season. We haven't had an olive for 5 years here. But
doesn't like the heat.
I keep growing them. I just keep growing and keep experimenting with them. Someone in Turkey wrote to me and said I should get a whole heap of ice over winter and throw the buckets of the ice underneath the tree, and it might trick it into
shock it,
shock it or something, and get that cold freeze down, so that, or not necessarily a freeze, but that cold hit, so that it fruits in spring. But I don't know. It takes a fair bit of effort and takes up space, but I still like experimenting and trying to get that win.
Yeah, exactly. And it really is.
And that's what it's about, isn't it? It's the experimenting that really drives your knowledge forward, because you go, well, okay, that didn't quite work, but what if I try this? And then all of a sudden you get a little bit of a success. You think, okay, just like with my potatoes, I tried in containers, it went well, and all of a sudden now I have this huge system that is giving me pretty much guaranteed results every year without blight. And, that's evolved over a 15-year period, and you just take those little wins, you learn from it, and then carry on experimenting from that point. And you can do that. You're going to lose plants along the way, but as long as you're not taking that personally and just moving forward, you'll become a much better gardener, because you always learn far more by failing than you ever will by winning.
Yes, that's true. And again, too, make it a part of the fun. I was talking a little while back ago, one of the fun things I like to do in the garden is I'll just take pieces of plants or whatever and pop off a stem or whatever, and I stick them in the ground just to see what'll grow, right? And every now and then something just grows, and it has no problem of just being stuck in the ground, will form roots and just start growing a whole new plant. It's just a part of having fun and experimenting and try to see what works when you're out in the garden, and again, like you say, it really is the fun of gardening. It's where we can find the most enjoyment, is just kind of playing around and doing different things to see what it does. I've my neighbors, they're just starting their first garden, and so they ask me, oh, should we do this or should we do that? And I say, I don't know, let's see what happens. Right. It's with some of this stuff, and I'll give them best case advice that I have when it comes down to it. But ultimately, my first thing I say is, I don't know, let's try it. Let's see what happens. Will that work? It could, it might, as far as I know, it should, but let's try it,
I think new beginner gardeners, they could be hesitant because they are spending money initially. A lot of the stuff that I'm experimenting with are my own seeds. So I make my own compost, thanks to Tony's book. I can make a killer compost now. And
I'm glad to hear that.
and so it's only costing me time and effort a lot of the time. I'm not buying plants and then seeing them die and they cost me $20 or anything like that. I'm just multiplying from my own garden, growing things with my own time and effort, and that's not as expensive as buying a whole heap of plants from the nursery out of season and then watching them all cark it.
Yeah, and that kind of comes back to that point earlier, right? Is that again, to a lot of newer gardeners go, oh, I see a garden, they think I want to go and try it. So naturally, you go to the store, you go to the place, you start buying stuff. And then that's where it goes, oh, I got to buy this, I got to have this, I got to have this, and all that sort of stuff. And really, I just wish there was a way that we could kind of get in front of that stuff somehow, but really it's just too hard to, you know. When it comes down to it, people are just going to go out there and they see that, you know, and hopefully they come and turn to, you know, other, you know, books, writers, you know, authors, and some, you know, to get some good advice, maybe turn to some videos and start learning a little bit about some of these other more less expensive strategies, because it doesn't take all of that stuff to garden.
I think that's why like the online shopping thing is taking off so well now as well. You know, you imagine your favorite creator, you know, talking about plants or whatever. He's planting them now in front of you, and all of a sudden there's a tab there that you can go and literally buy them, have them delivered to your house at the right appropriate time. It's so much better than going to a store where no one absolutely knows anything about what you're trying to do or what you're growing. You know, you've got the creator showing you there. I think that's going to be a major player over the next few years for people. With even things like plants and stuff, you're going to have these nurseries working directly with creators who are going to be putting purchase buttons on their videos and stuff like that, and you'll be able to buy it right in the video. You know, there's so much changing online now.
Yeah. I'm actually going through a YouTube course thing that they invited me to do right now, going through all of that sort of stuff to kind of learn some of that stuff. But yeah, that's really true. And it's a really good idea, is that hopefully, you know, that is the way of getting in front of it a little bit, right?
It'd be good if it could be dynamic links too. So if your video is out of season, that buy button might replace it with something that's in season, or not be able to buy that certain plant, depending on where you are or what the season is. And I'm sure that's coming if it's not here already.
Oh yeah,
I think with AI coming into like the likes of YouTube and stuff like that, and the other platforms, I mean, the shopping experience, they're all trying to nail it at the moment. And when they do nail that sort of things, where it's, you know, seasonal and, you know, it's the exact time, and they put the right button in front of it. Maybe it's only, the button is only there for that specific period, and then the button's removed. You know, that way it's all about the customer at the end of the day, isn't it? You know, so, and the viewer.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, exactly. And again, too, just a best way for folks to be able to get to the things that they actually need or can use in their garden, versus all of the stuff that, you know, newer gardeners kind of just look at shelves and go, oh wow, and then just start. And again, too, then it becomes expensive, and then it becomes easy to kind of go, okay, well, maybe not, you know, and we don't want any of that to happen at all. All right, let's grab in another question here. Robin Gardens asked a little bit earlier, do you have any less common veg that you love to grow, and why? How about you, Mark? You got anything that's kind of less common? I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that grow really well that aren't very common in your region, though, huh?
One thing that I thought was uncommon was that cassava. It's an island. It's a bit like sweet potato. And I've only just started growing it because for years and years people have told me to try some. And I have eaten it before, and it tastes pretty much like sweet potato. And so I'm trying it I bought some cuttings online, and I'm trying it this year. But I grow quite a few weird crops. Egyptian spinach is one of the things that help us here, because spinach, you've only got a very short window of time through our winter to be able to grow English spinach. And then, I mean, even then it goes to seed real quick. And it's difficult to grow. So Egyptian spinach is something that'll grow all through our summer, and it actually goes dormant through winter, but it just loves the heat, and it's a good substitute to put in quiches and that. I don't think it's as good as English spinach, but it's a really good substitute for it. So I just try to substitute as much as I can through our summertime, especially when, you know, you can get some good tropical fruits in that growing, but it's very difficult to get good veggies or the standard supermarket veggies growing through our summertime here.
Yeah, so you're kind of forced into some uncommon things.
Yeah,
definitely. How about for you, Tony? You got anything that's a little less common you like to grow?
Yeah, I like growing salsify. It's not something that tends to be grown a lot in the UK, and it's something that I quite like putting into things like stews or roasting it as a veg in itself. It's a root vegetable, and funny enough, pretty much everybody in the family likes it. So it's one vegetable we haven't got to admit because someone doesn't like,
Right.
And it's just packed with nutrients. So it's a win.
That's an
really.
ancient one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it was quite difficult getting seed. So most years I leave 3 or 4 to go to seed so that I can collect my own seed off them. They're pretty much like carrots; they're biannual, so they'll give you seed the next year. And
so you have to wait.
It's not a 1 year period. So you'll grow them this year. I'll harvest what I want, and I'll leave 3 or 4, and I'll actually lift them. I'll cut the tops off them, and I'll put them into damp sand over winter just to keep them ticking over, and I'll replant them in spring, and then they'll go to seed then.
Right. Yeah.
I won't leave them in the ground because when it freezes here, they tend to go a little bit mushy, so you get a less of a seed harvest. They will still go to seed, but it's not such a strong harvest, and I believe the seed isn't as good quality as if you were to bring them in, put them in like a clamp or in a box of sand or something, and then replant them in spring.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. Well, here, next question's for you, Tony, actually. English Lady's Kitchen Garden, so I'm sure she's right up there in your neighborhood saying, should I be doing anything special to my grapevine? The grapes are coloring up nicely.
Great to hear. At the moment, well, you should have done this already, but just check your pruning, allow one bunch every sort of like 13, 14 inches, especially only one bunch per spurring cluster. And what I would be doing now, I'd probably give them a light feed now as well, because they're using so much energy in pushing out the size of the grapes, and if they're turning, they won't be long before you're ready to start harvesting. But yeah, definitely think about giving them a light feed. And if you've got too many clusters, like I said, really you want to be aiming for like one every sort of 12, 13, 14 inches, then get the snips out and just take them away. I know you're losing fruit, but you'll get a better harvest in the long run with them. And just prune back the side shoots of grapes. I mean, my back tunnel at the moment, you can't even get in there because of the vines, because I've been so busy, and you need to prune them back and let the sunlight get at the grapes as well. The other thing you might want to consider as well, where you are, is the flies and gnats and stuff. You might want to net them. Every year I net my grapes just to make sure. So I'll just put a little net bag over the actual cluster of grapes, just to ensure that they don't start getting in there. Because once they start piercing those grapes, they tend to turn mouldy. So I net the bag and just make sure there's good airflow in there.
Excellent. Sounds great. Let's see here. I am Human Jake. Hello. Do any of you know if you can sun-dry green peppers? Can you sun-dry green peppers? I'd imagine you probably
I've never
could.
tried that.
I've never tried it, but I bet you they would.
You should be able to.
Yeah. Be like, again, too, just a longer natural way of just dehydrating them in a way, right? Like most other sun-dried
you probably
things.
could. Well, they make pepper crisps, don't they? So so I don't see why not.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe they would be kind of little pepper crisp if you can do some hot ones, some little snappy ones too, right?
I just went to the Dorset Chili Festival. I met up with Sean from the Chili Chump there on Saturday, and some of the peppers down there were so hot. Crazy hot.
You got some taste tests in there?
A couple, yeah. But come back with some good sauces, and but yeah, it's you see some of the chilies down there, and I've grown loads of chilies over the years, and at some of them down there, they got some fantastic plants and what have you. But it was a really good day out down there.
Oh yeah, that would have been really fun. I like to go to a pepper festival sometime. That would be a really fun experience. I don't know how much taste testing of the really, really hot stuff I would do, but I'd really have a lot of fun with some mid-range heat for sure, because I love my peppers and I grow plenty of them every year myself too. It's probably one of my first real kind of crops that I just really caught on to. It was just like I just love growing these things, and I've been doing it almost ever since, like, I'd say my second season for sure.
Do you guys overwinter them?
Um, I have overwintered before, a couple of different varieties I've had years ago, and I haven't done that much of that yet. But one of the things I'm really working on doing too, hopefully for this winter, is that a lot of people can't see, but right here on the other side of this monstera behind me is a big, like, 4 foot by 4 foot indoor grow room tent that I want to put some good lights in there and everything, and bring in like a couple of the varieties I really like out there, and try doing some overwintering and growing and seed saving, experimenting, doing some experimenting and some fun, with that sort of thing throughout this next winter. So I'm going to try to get back into it, is what I'm going to do.
It tends to be hots that people overwinter in the UK.
Yeah.
Especially like the super hots, so that they can get a better harvest the following year. But it's like, because we get such cold weather, and you got to bring them indoors, and with that then it has its other issues. Great if you've got grow tents and stuff like that. So a lot of people just tend to treat them as annuals here.
Okay.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, and that's really what I would do in doing that. Would definitely be a playing around, experimentation, just kind of seeing what's possible type of thing, more so than actually just trying to grow something for the fruit and trying to, maybe you're trying to keep one of these genetic lines going and stuff too, maybe a little bit, but that'd be about it when I'm going to do it. Plus, and I guess it's really kind of a sneak peek into, I'm doing this this whole like year-long video series on how I do grow peppers, this kind of system I've developed over the years that I do and grow all these peppers and everything. So the overwintering thing is what I'm kind of hoping will be kind of like a next year extension to that playlist. Kind of like, let's take a look at, I saved some seeds from this particular plant, and then we kind of grew it out, overwintered it here indoors, that sort of thing, plus bringing one of the other plants directly from the garden, showing people how I did that and stuff. So I think it'd be kind of a fun thing to do and show people.
Yeah, they can be pretty productive the second season if you can overwinter them. I know they are here, but then they start to wane. I reckon the third, is it worth it? I sometimes think they start to wear out and get woody, and even though you prune them back and they regrow, they're not as good. So I think it's sort of like a short-term perennial here.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
you'll give them that second year and then replant the next time.
Just kind of as the plant's aging, it's just kind of wearing down from its production ability.
Yeah, that's the way.
I know Sean overwinters a few, but again, most of the stuff that he does, and he does hundreds of chilies every single year, and most of his are sown from seed he's kept back, because he's bringing on his own varieties. He's just taking them through that 7-year period that it takes to get a strain that is stable.
Right.
But eventually, sometimes if there's like a super hot that he really wants a good sized plant out of the following year, he will overwinter that, and he'll put that in one of his sheds or something to overwinter.
Yeah, his greenhouse and that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's one thing I wish I kind of had though too, is the space to have a good decent greenhouse. The experimentation and fun I can have then. But what about for like your climate, Mark? I mean, it's really, I reckon, not needed, right?
Well, you could use a greenhouse in two ways. You could use it as a hot house or a cold house, shade house.
Right.
So an example would be to grow tomatoes through the middle of our summer, which you can grow cherry tomatoes, but they still suffer a lot in the humidity. But in a shade house, some guys use umbrellas in the garden. And so in the heat of the day through the middle of summer, when the sun's battering down, there's guys with umbrellas out there in the garden, standing there all day sheltering them. No, I'm kidding. They put an umbrella. They put an umbrella on a stick, and they shelter the plant from the rain and from the heavy sun, and it actually works well. But a shade house would be better. I mean, commercially they grow them in big shade houses, and so they can grow them all year round. But the real hard thing for me here has always been the large peppers, the capsicums. Those, it's like a chili. They won't grow very well through the winter. But it seems like it's the only time to really grow them because they're so susceptible to fruit fly, and they're so susceptible.
Your tomatoes, huh? Wow.
And they're very susceptible to disease in our climate, even through winter or summer. So if I had a hot house, I could maybe put them in that and baby them a bit, and I think I'd have more success. So I really...
The humidity where you live, Mark, I think is the issue for that.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we use, like here, you're talking about the umbrellas, then I've used that to prevent things like my giant marrows when I've grown them, or the cabbage, from ripening, because that stops the growth when they start to ripen because of the sun. So we'll use them just to shade so that the fruit can continue to grow. Because the longer you can stop it ripening, the bigger it'll actually get. And that's one of the tricks we used to use even here, just to ensure the fruit is able to continue growing.
That's
interesting.
I like that. Yeah, I just learned something. I'm gonna have to have fun with that and try that out a little bit. So really, you're just kind of shading out the plant right at the fruit stage prior to its ripening stage.
No, you're not shading the plant. The plant is getting the sun because it needs to photosynthesize. You want to get as much of that. You're just shading the fruit. So we'll start off, if the plant is small, you start off with just a small umbrella just covering that plant. And as it gets bigger and bigger, you end up with like golf umbrellas and everything else, because the plant is spread out much further at that point. I've seen people going there, putting 4 stakes in the ground and putting blankets over the top just to block that sun. I mean, we've buried them in all sorts of things. We've put quilts over the fruit and just literally just buried the fruit in a quilt. Anything to stop the sun from ripening that fruit, because once the sun starts hitting it, it starts to ripen, because after all, a plant just wants to go to seed, right? That's what the idea of a fruit is. And if you can prevent it ripening, it will continue growing, and then eventually when you're getting close to that size, you take them off so it can ripen before it splits. It's a fine balance, and that's where the experimenting comes in.
And then trying to gauge it, like you said, before it splits too.
And so would you be doing that for like competition or just
when I was doing it for when I was growing the giant marrows to try and beat the world record, what we would do, we would cover that. You'd need that marrow to go. We'd be removing everything, but towards the end of the season we would let a second marrow then or zucchini grow on the vine as a backup, not because we want a separate fruit just in case this one split, because the only one we're worried about is the main fruit. The reason for the second one there is to control the weather, because if we have a massive downpour and then the plant takes up and gives that main zucchini all of that water, that's when it could split. So if we can direct it into a second fruit, then the likelihood is we can control that split. So that's the only reason you do that. So you're watching the weather constantly. If it's sunny, we're covering the fruit, and if it's likely to rain, we'll allow a second fruit to go, just so the plant can feed that the water instead of the bigger one.
See, that is technical, isn't it?
There's so much stuff. There's so much stuff that goes in, and this is what I was saying about experimentation. People really need to try things. You'll be surprised what people are doing in their backyards. When it comes to just being able to baby things along, and people have no idea what people for shows are doing. They're like literally manually pollinating things.
It's amazing.
I manually pollinated them, and you pick up so many tips from people by watching them, and you might think, my squash aren't getting that big. well, is the sun beating on them? Is that ripening them? Well, just cover them over with a little sheet or something, and that'll help them to continue growing rather than ripening off.
Yeah. I love that trick. That's a great one. I'm gonna have to kind of experiment and play around with that. But again, too, Mark, I mean, I've interviewed and had, oh, here I go again. Uh-oh.
Well, you pull your cable out.
No, yeah, I know. Is the sound still going? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think what it is, Enoch, is I think every 30 minutes certain
something's
cameras...
going on with my camera, right?
What have we got? The M50?
With this issue right now. No, this one's the 90D.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so oh boy, what's going on here?
You can turn that off, mind. It's the economic setting in the camera.
There's something going on. Yeah, well, Canon has to run through its own little thing here. Unbelievable.
My M50 used to do the same thing. Used to bug the hell out of me.
Anyways, let's keep the conversation going best we can, though. I'll try to figure out what's going on, as long as you can hear me for a minute here. But I'll just say, though, too, is what I was talking about there is that we've had on the show, folks who do competition growing like Tony there and everything. And it's just completely fascinating to me, the technicalities of a lot of growing and everything. And that just kind of takes you through the levels that you can take yourself into growing, from just, really beginner growing and all of that to getting really, really technical if you want to, and growing some really amazing looking vegetables.
Yeah, we've got our show coming up called The Eka in Brisbane, and we're going to that this year. We don't go every year, but this year, and I'm keen to look at the veggie stands and the poultry stands and seeing what the breeders have been doing and how big the pumpkins are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a similar show coming up. We got Malvin Autumn showing next month, and that's the same. That's all about veg growing.
Yeah.
It's all showing veg, but they also do the giant veg there, where all the records tend to get broken then, and that's where everyone around the UK tends to take their veg then to try and break the records. So next month will be a busy month for a lot of gardeners. You're back.
There I am.
Yeah.
Something switched out. Yeah, through the Canon. It has to run through a little second piece of software in order to come in here, and something happened with that there. Yikes. Anyways, it's the continuing fun of the Let's Get Growing show around here. But, live streaming, here we go. We're going to keep this thing rolling along.
That's live for you. I mean, that's nothing compared to my live streams.
Yeah.
My live streams are awful. Everything bad happens all the time.
It happens to us all, so I wouldn't worry about it. The only time mine don't mess up is when I'm on somebody else's.
Right? Exactly,
yeah, that's true. Right? Yes, yeah.
Everything seems to be fine, which is I suppose is a really good thing, though, too, because you don't want to be messing up if you're going everywhere. It's one of the things I worry about, too, if I'm on someone else's show or something. I'm like, I don't want to be falling out here. Don't want problems to happen from my end. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, real quick here. While we were talking about big things, Tony, do you still try to grow the heaviest potato?
Every year.
Every year. You still try to do it every year.
I will get. And actually, we're talking about experimenting. I've tried. I thought AI is into everything at the moment. So I asked AI this year, and I'm doing an experiment based on AI, right?
All right.
So the beginning of this year, I've fed in all of the information that I've had and all the results I've had from my experiments over the last 15 years of trying to break this record. And I put it all into AI, and I said to ChatGPT, okay, look, I want to beat this record. What am I missing? And it came out with a word called fusion. Now, we've been working on the assumption that potatoes, all the potatoes that are world records, they're all knobbly, they've got extra, sort of legs off them and everything else, because when you're going for a world record as far as size in weight or length or whatever the case being, it doesn't matter what it looks like. And the way that's been done is you will literally remove the chit from the seed potato, and you'll only plant that chit, and you'll keep potting that on. And as it's growing, you're actually trying to remove all the other tubers bar one, to basically so that the plant is only feeding that one tuber. Yeah. So I put all this information into AI, and it came out with me. It said, AI told me you're doing it wrong. I thought, thanks. You know, right? Wow. And it came out with something to try called fusion. So this is something I'm having a go at the moment. And what this saying is that you should allow the potato to use multiple potatoes, but restrict the space so that those tubers are being pushed together and they fuse when they're still very small potatoes. So when you get potatoes that got extra lumps off them and things like that, AI is basically saying that's fusion, that's multiple potatoes being forced together, and then they're actually growing as one potato. So that's something I'm experimenting with at the moment as well. So who knows, maybe AI will let me win a record, you know?
Wouldn't that be something that's where you found your solution and how it come together, right?
I can see the video title now.
And you don't even need to ask AI for that one, huh?
No, that's but yeah, you know, like I said, it's all about experimenting. You know, I'm not winning the way I want to. Don't get me wrong, I'm getting some big potatoes. I think my largest was something like about 4 kilos for a single spud, and but it's short of the record. The current record's about 12 pounds, I think, something like that. So whatever, you know, it's a couple of pound more than what I'm getting to, and it's held by a guy called Peter Glazebrook, and he won that, I think, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe. Yeah. And he beat his own personal best, so he was already the record holder.
Well, this guy's got something down, though, huh? What's his secret?
Oh, he knows the secret. The problem you have is, it's like everything else. And we were talking earlier on about seeds, and you know, if you're keeping your own seeds, they're always better than bringing seed in, because they're used to your environment, and you're picking for stronger genetics each time. And it's the same thing with your seed potatoes. The only problem is this year I've had to start with fresh seed potatoes, because I stored them in a new shed, and I didn't realize that there was a rat nest in the shed, and they got in and destroyed all my seed potatoes for the showing. So I've had to start with fresh seed. So I don't know whether that's going to take me a couple of years again now to really build a genetic backup, or whether I'll be lucky and this will happen. So I can expect to be trying this idea of the fusion thing. It's only one idea I'm doing amongst multiple others. And I've got a couple of experiments running with it. I'm running experiments in coffee grounds. I'm running experiments in just seaweed. I'm running experiments in all sorts of stuff, just to see, you know, what's giving me a slight edge, and then we'll maybe take that to the next step, you know. But the experimentation is important in any growing, whether you're growing for show or whether you're growing just to eat. You know, I grow my carrots in deep sand in the columns of compost that I've shown in multiple videos, and you know, I'm pulling out carrots that are 3 feet long, dead straight, nothing on them. You know, I've had plenty of posts of that, you know, going out, and you know, and that's just an experiment. In fact, I've got a bed up there now that are looking quite good, so I'm sure you'll see further posts of that this year.
Yeah, just amazing.
Just experiment, guys. That's all I can say to you. You get the fundamentals, like I said. You know what you need: water, nutrients, light. You know, and then everything else you can play with and work around and see what works in your area for you.
Yeah, just such a good, I mean, great examples of where you can take things too down the road, you know, as you start learning and getting better with different things, and really, and again too, you know, concentrating maybe on certain crops and really trying to figure them out and do stuff and experimenting and things, you know. It's just, again too, that's really what makes gardening so much fun. Let alone, you know, some of the cool stuff we get to eat and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, having fun with plants and seeing what they can do, and seeing what you can produce ultimately for yourself, and, you know, test yourself. Can you know,
Mark's experimenting all the time. I see
it. You get them bigger and bigger.
where you're burying kangaroos and and all of this stuff. It's good, and then and then you've got your trellis over the two beds and the walkway and stuff. It's all about experimenting and seeing, will this give me a better result than what I normally do? If not, you go back to what you normally do and find something else to try.
And in the process, you're learning all the time and you're refining your gardening skills. Like at the moment, I've got our hands in a mobile tractor, and I'm pushing them tractor from garden bed to garden bed. And this last garden bed's a real long one. I just released a video on it actually, about cutting down my banana trees and making space. I want to extend my garden and all that. But when I put them into this second long garden bed, after they absolutely smashed the first one that I had them in, and I used the manure and everything, and for them, tilling the first bed, and then all I did was added some extra manure that was on the ground, and I'm working on making a nappy for the chicken tractor, or a bit of shade cloth going underneath the chicken tractor so I can capture more of the poop without having to rake it off the ground. But in this second long bed, all the stuff that I used to net it was out of the shed. Some stuff I'd had there for 15 years, hoarding it in my shed, and just pulled it out. And I made a makeshift cage for the hens to be safe enough and also not to escape. And now they're working on that garden bed for me. And it's just, I just find, like Tony said, experimentation just fascinating and fun.
Yeah, exactly. And again, too, just worry about learning some fundamentals and then just get out there. And I think that's really kind of the idea, and this is the case as we're talking about today, all around the world, no matter where you're gardening from, it's just, get some fundamentals and
it doesn't have to cost a lot.
And it doesn't have to cost a lot.
No.
Beware of what they're trying to sell you out there, that sort of stuff.
Gardening could be as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be. And there is no limits either way,
Yep.
Because if you really wanted it really cheap, you could go beg, borrow, and steal tools. You can do the same thing for seeds, and you're up and running. All you need is some soil, And
exactly.
Again, as Mark said, he's making his own compost and throwing that in his beds. You're doing all, the hugel culture in the bottom of the beds as well to fill that up. It's all about using the resources available to you in the best way possible.
Yeah, definitely. And again, too, that's also going back to what I was saying with my pepper series I'm doing. That's really one of the main points of it, is that that it's really about kind of like, we don't need all of this stuff to grow really good things, so like I had one video where I just showed my simple lights I use for just the starts here indoors, and I had someone comment, I was like, hey, get these, bam, 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 super high LEDs, you'll thank me later. And I was like, no, that's not really what the point is. It's like you said, Tony, is that gardening really can be as expensive as you want it to be. It doesn't have to be expensive at all, and you can really produce some really good stuff too, without all of that money into things. But hey, you can go there, and that's one of the things I talk about in this video too, right? Is that you can go there, like some of these other things you're doing, grow some giant stuff, really push the boundaries of where things go with light and nutrients and things like that with things, and see what can happen as well too, because then there's the fun of experimenting and everything, but it doesn't have to cost much.
I think just one thing I'd like to add here is that, new gardeners, they tend to go way too big before. Like they try to run before they can walk.
That's right.
Start off small.
Guilty.
Learn, once you know what you're doing on that size, then you can scale. But trying to scale, all of a sudden they get overwhelmed with the weed growth and everything else, and not knowing how to manage that can be a killer for you. You think, oh, I've planted all these beautiful plants, it looks fantastic, and 6 weeks later, it's up here in weeds. You've lost your plants because they're buried in the bottom somewhere. It's so frustrating for new gardeners.
It really is. It really, really is. All right, well, let's see here. Let's get to a question or two before I got to let you guys go here. Some folks brought in some questions, so let's see if we can. Serena was asking, Tony, first frost date, November 1st. What point do I need to harvest russet potatoes for curing?
Well, you want to leave them grow, and I see this a lot with people, or you know, my potatoes will be telling me I can harvest them after 20 weeks or 22 weeks or whatever. If your potatoes are green, if the tops are still green, they're still growing. Leave them grow. When the foliage starts dying back, mine is still all in their pots at the moment, and it's all collapsed all over my frame. It's probably 50-60% of it's yellow now, but right around the edges is still green, right? So I'm just leaving it go. I'm in no rush to harvest them, but I know I'm going to get the maximum yield out of them while that green is still there, right?
Yeah.
But you want to harvest them before that frost date, because once the frost comes, it'll damage the tubers and you will not be able to store them, right? So harvest them before the frost date, but if you're seeing like 70-80% of your foliage has died back, then you can cut that foliage, take it away, leave them in the containers or the ground for a couple of weeks just to start curing. Then you can lift them, because then I'll save damage in the skins. Leave them on the surface for a few hours just to dry cure a bit, and then you can start moving them then to wherever you're going to cure them, whether that's in sacks, bags, or whatever you want to do with that. But I see people online, and they're harvesting potatoes and then wondering why they've got a lot of tiny little potatoes, and I'm thinking, you've just literally terminated the plant and it was still growing. Just forget, and this is what I'm saying about seed packets and stuff, forget the timings they're giving you. It's a rough guide. If your plant wants to grow and it says 22 weeks and it wants to grow to 28 weeks, leave it grow to 28 weeks. You're going to get a much better harvest.
Yeah. Those are just guidelines. A lot of stuff really too, and that becomes the sense too, is we kind of get hard and fast with things we're reading and seeing, and a lot of this stuff, whether they're charts and all these different things that we can get, they're just really guidelines, and we've got to really be open to a week or two before is the right time, or a week or two later, and like you're saying, maybe the harvest time, a week or two, there's just so many variations in certain parts of things that can happen depending, again, to where we're growing from in our climate, right? And then, so those are the sort of things. So that literally we got to take these things on the back of the seed packets or other things that we see as guidelines, so that we can just kind of...
You consider, you guys, right? USA and Australia, massive land, compared to the UK. And in the UK, there's a 6 weeks difference between the south and the north. So if we've got that difference, imagine the differences you guys have. Do you know what I'm saying? So, people just don't get it. Like, to put one date on a packet is just crazy. I would like to see a QR code on a packet that would take people to a website where they put in a zip code or postcode or something like that, and that give them a more up-to-date thing. I think that would be really handy for new growers. This is roughly what people are when they're planting in your area, and then you can work a few days around that. I think that would be a lot better than just having you plant this between the middle of March and the end of March or whatever. It's just, I think it's personally nonsense.
Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe like a app or something that's just really more dynamic.
And it'd
something
be
where
easy
it's
for someone
just
to produce.
you have your location looked into it, and when you're looking at things, it just kind of relates that information to you and your climate and where you're from, and that sort of stuff. I think that would be a great idea. Someone get on that. Someone get on that, right? You're the one, Tony. I think you're the one to get this done, though, right?
I ain't got
you got the knowledge for that, right? I know. You definitely got plenty going on. That's for sure. All the stuff you're constantly putting out and doing and everything. Right on here. Let's see here. I got one for Mark here. Dusty Flats is asking, what are the precautions you take to prevent getting bitten by the various dangerous wildlife there in Australia? Sorry, this is one of the things I always have fun with. I would say, Australia is one of the places I'm just would love to come visit. It's literally like my top of my bucket list type place I want to go, because I just want to go see Australia, see all the just amazing things. But it's literally one of the most dangerous places in the world. Yeah, if there's a snake, a spider, a jellyfish, a bird, it doesn't matter what it is. You've got the most dangerous one in the world that's there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's also true that most people don't get hurt.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Because especially if you're living in an urban environment or in the cities, there's not a lot of those nasties around, although they are there in some places. And you probably do encounter them more in the country or on a property,
Right.
And I do take precautions. I think most Australians do. And after their first spider or snake encounter, they certainly do after that, because it can be pretty scary or confronting when you come across a brown snake that rears up and looks you in the eyes, and and you're walking down a bush track, and and the big spider when you lift up a plant, or like in my latest video, I didn't narrate it, but you'll see that I actually do have a big spider that the hens get, that was sitting on top of their mesh that I'd built. But that is actually in the video. But what I don't talk about is when I'm cutting up the banana plants into segments and putting them in the compost, I will kick them, especially if they've been lying on the ground. I'll kick them a bit, and to make sure I disturb any large spiders or a snake or something that might be hiding underneath it.
Right.
And that's just something I'll do normally when I'm lifting a rock or lifting a log or putting something in the compost or putting my hand in somewhere where I can't see.
Yep.
You just don't do that.
Gloves, really good. All that stuff. Don't be, if I'm reaching or have to get something, I myself glove up, because here in my area, we've got black widows. I've got several of them. Right. I got them all over my place. In fact, I just saw one earlier today running in up under its hiding spot earlier today too. So yeah, you gotta, I think in general, again, around the world where you are, there are some things that you've got to be aware of, and you should be careful of when it comes down to it. Right.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, what do you got in the UK there, Tony, that could be dangerous?
Right.
we got the adder, which is a snake, but it's rarely in urban environment. Like, it tend to be out in the woodland areas and stuff. But you do see them. But really, that's about it. I'm happy to just jam my hand in things, and
no real bad spiders or anything.
I do get it. I lived in Australia for a couple of years in 93 to 95. A lot in Sydney, but I spent about 8 months in Mackay, so I don't know how far that is from you.
A few hours north.
Right. Okay. So so I spent a fair bit of time out there. I did a bit of traveling and stuff, Ulladulla, Bateman's Bay, and what have you. So I was fully aware. There's so much more there than I ever have to worry about here in the garden. But if I was gardening with yours, again, I'd be taking those precautions. You've got to learn what it is around you, what's likely to cause me issues, and govern that. It's the same thing, with tools. We all know, don't put a rake on the floor, because if you step on it, it's going to, So you look at the risk, and then you take precautions in order to alleviate that risk. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, what's there, you just have to do that. But I'm lucky, I can just get my hands in, just jam them in, and do what I want to do.
That's great. Even, like I was saying, like even I here in Southern Oregon got to watch out what I'm doing here when I'm sticking my hands in some places and stuff. I think we got a couple of other spiders that aren't very good either, but that's the one I see most of the time, and I don't go and kill them or try to boot them away or anything like that.
They're your friends.
Yeah, they really are in a sense, and they're just for the most part, most of these things I've learned in my life, and wherever I've lived and walked out in the wilds of Alaska and come face to face with giant brown bear before. You know, I've come face to face with giant moose with racks, 10 feet wide, you know what I mean? Almost 5 feet from my face. And I've been on the coast and seen giant seals that towered over me when I was a kid and everything. And almost every instance I've ever come across something that was kind of crazy like that, those animals were just afraid of me and just wanted to get away from me more than anything else too, when it comes down to it. So we're all just trying to
fight or flight, isn't it? And that's all it is. It's a reaction to them being startled at the end of the day.
And almost every time too, it's me with my reaction. I got to run, I got to get away, and so I go the one way, and then I see them look back, and they're running the complete opposite way. Like we were both startled, when it came down to it. So I'm sure,
all that brown bear wasn't hungry.
Or right. Well, the funny thing, he was actually feeding at the time I ran into him. I was walking this trail that goes up over this stream, right? And so I heard all the slapping and doing whatever, and I kind of looked down real quick to notice him catching like fish or whatever. Jeez. And it stood up. And mind you, I was probably about 4 or 5 feet up elevated above it, and it stood up and still was taller than me. And looked at me and I was by myself out in that was probably the worst ones where I was probably the most scared. And literally though, that bear ran the other direction. Craziest
Stick to my garden.
And I'm glad we don't have bears here. Only koala bears, and they don't hurt you. But the amount of stuff I bury in my garden, I'd have all the bears from the whole 100 kilometers away in my backyard.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. Mark, you bury all sorts. You've buried kangaroos and possums or whatever. And I'm similar thing. Any of the pest species, if I find dead rats or anything, they go in my compost. It's just nutrients, and I have no problem with putting stuff in there. Anything that's going to bring in nutrients into the garden, in it goes.
Free.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chuck it in there. As long as you can get good odd compost, you're all right.
Use nature, and nature comes in all different forms and stuff. And for me, I've got a cat. It's just the other day my cat's bringing me treats.
Don't compost your cat, Enoch.
No, my cat. Yeah, I know, right? Well, actually, it just kind of depends on their fate, I suppose. But really, no, they bring you treats, and their idea of bringing you treats are the little mice or whatever they catch while they're rolling around or whatever. So I'll get little mice outside my door, when I come outside sometimes, and there they are. So throw them off into the compost pile, and you know what I mean? Use nature, and it, even those things will compost down and be useful after a while. So
if it was once living, it'll compost.
There you go. Right. Here's a quick question here from Robert Gardens for both of you guys. What is your favorite homemade fertilizer solution for general use? Do you guys have anything you do that's just something you kind of make up or do at home for your garden? Mark?
Yeah, I do. I go fishing a lot. I like my fishing. And so you could cook the frames up, which we do, and make stocks and stuff like that. But one of my favorite ways is to just get a bucket of water, throw all the guts and the scales and the frames after you're filleting, and throw it all in there, and then fill it up with water, put a top on it, or just cover it over with a mesh or something, and just let it rot. It stinks for a little bit, so you don't want it like outside your back door or anything.
Right.
But if you've got a bit of a property, you want it, a few yards away into a sort of secluded area.
Is it covered or open?
Yeah, it's covered.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, on mine, I just put anything. I just cover it with some fly mesh or mosquito mesh so that, the flies don't get in there. Yeah. And the buckets that I've got at the moment, one's got an old fry pan over the top of it as a lid. And that's about it. And then I just let them rot down, and you don't even have to blend them and mush them up. I can do that. Like I've made different sorts of fish fertilizer before, where you've added sugar and molasses and you let it ferment and that type of thing. But the simplest way,
Sean
and my most favorite way, is just to let it rot in a bucket of water. And after about 2 to 3 months, it's sort of like this brown substance, and it's pretty much all dissolved. And then I just water that into my garden beds. It's just fantastic fertilizer. You can make fertilizer out of so many things. It's similar to compost.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make fertilizer out of weeds and stuff like that. I tend to do all my perennial weeds like that. So because they're accumulators, they're ripping all the nutrients out of the ground, and then people are chucking them away because they're perennials, and they just rot them down and feed it back to your soil. But for me, it's the comfrey. I just make so much comfrey. I even water my compost with it when if it's getting dry. I water it with comfrey. So you'll have to excuse all these lights going out around me.
Oh, no problem. Oh, they're doing their own thing, right? But no, I was actually, that's
down here is all timed. So
yeah, that's a good one there too, though. Again, too, there's a lot of stuff though that we hear around online, banana peels or all these different things and stuff, and comfrey's always been kind of that one that I've heard and seen and stuff. So that's a great one that you yourself have used and utilized and everything too. It works well for you, huh?
Yeah, any accumulator is good because they're pulling the mineral content and stuff from deep down, because they have huge tap roots when they're down there, and it's absolutely brilliant because it brings that all up to the leaves. You chuck them in, and just like the fish, it stinks. You have to get it away, seal it, or off in a lid or whatever. The good thing about comfrey is you've got a couple of ways you can do it. You can fill a bucket just like with a fish and fill it with water, and that'll make a fluid that you can water down 1 to 10 in a watering can or something. But if you really want to really maximize it, you could just put the leaves and put a weight on top of them, and you'll get this like black tar fluid that will come out of it, and it's really concentrated. And then you're going to need to water that 1 to 50. It's a really concentrated
really
liquid,
break it
but
down.
it's fantastic for storing away, because it doesn't break down like the water version would. So you can store that away for a couple of years if you wanted, as long as it's kept in a dark place, or out of the light. And it's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, excellent.
And like Tony said, one of the easiest ways that I fertilize our beds is by just cutting down all the weeds that's grown in it. Cut them down and then dig them back into the bed. Don't have to dig them in much, and then mulch over the top of them, and then they'll just go back into the soil. I'm doing an experiment at the moment where I'm growing cabbages and radish in a bed just solely on cut down weeds in that particular bed, because it was heaps of weeds in that particular bed, and I cut them down before they went to seed, and they were quite lush. And I wondered, do I have to add any extra fertilizer throughout the growing period to keep them going, or would they just sustain on what I knocked down and left rot? And so that's what I'm going through at the moment.
Testing and experimenting with that. There, another great experiment.
And the good thing for most nutrients is they tend to recycle in the ground, with the odd exception like nitrogen that tends to gas off, so you may have a nitrogen issue there, but then those weeds are re-adding that as well. It's whether that'll continue over time, but weeds are brilliant for stuff like that.
Oh, look, you got me. I'll tell you. I did. You bugger. I did. I did have to add some extra fertilizer to it because I noticed that they were lacking nitrogen. Yes. Right. And so I got some of my homemade fish fertilizer and I've put that on there to keep it going. So that experiment, it's still going, that experiment, but to keep it going
interesting to see.
I needed to add that extra fertilizer. And that would be my conclusion, was that you might not get enough out of knocking down a whole bunch of weeds and then letting that work as your fertilizer base. For sure.
Yeah. Looking forward to that video to see how that experiment all worked through, though, too, because you know, we'll all
there is a
definitely be
theme
wondering
here,
that's
though,
working.
Enoch, that
Yeah.
you can see with like Mark and myself
Yeah.
constantly running different experiments. You know,
Yeah.
that's the key for any other gardener out there. If you want a good garden, just run experiments. Don't be afraid whether they work or not. Just try it.
Yeah, just like you were saying, just get you know, just get and try to understand some of those basic, you know, base kind of principles of gardening and stuff. You know, water, light, you know, some nutrients and things like that. Get a base understanding of that, and then just start having fun, start doing things, trying things, and you know, and see where your garden goes from there, you know. And again too, we get season into season to try these experiments over and over on some of them to see where they go each time from each season. And again, really becomes that fun and enjoyment. I love thinking back to some of the different things and how things worked out from season to season over the years that I've tried different things. So I mean, it really is the way to go. It's just kind of allowing the garden to, you know, allow for that. Right. All right. Let's see here real quick here. I'm going to finish up here real quick. I know we got some good questions still coming in. Let's drop this one real quick. Big Will Dog was asking if you had to pick up and move to another country. We're talking about gardening around the world right now. Which one would you choose and why? How about you, Tony? Where would you go if you had to move from the UK and go somewhere?
Probably the USA.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason being is because land is so much cheaper out there than it is here, and I think it would allow me to test some of my knowledge as well against more harsher environments. Like I said earlier on, I've been to Australia. You know, I know that I could probably do it there because I'm used to the climate in certain areas there. Like I said, I've been around a few places there, but I've never been to the USA, and so that's something. If I had to choose, I'd probably go there and try that.
Yeah. Also, kind of more as kind of like I gotta go check it out. Right?
Yeah. And like you see, I see so many homestead channels, and you know, they're struggling and this, that, and the other, and I'm thinking, right, okay, what would I know that could possibly turn that around?
Yeah.
Or would I fail as well? You know,
that would be fun.
Like
that would be fun,
me.
wouldn't it? Like Tony O'Neill on the homestead. You know what I mean? Like doing his own homestead. You know what I mean? Taking everything he's learned and all that sort of stuff. We ship him over to the U.S. to start a homestead in North Carolina and see what he does. That's where I see a lot of the homestead channels. North Carolina, they love that place there. How about for you, Mark? Where would you go?
Yeah, it's the States, of course.
The States?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just so big and wonderful, and it's got, you could pick any climate, the cold or the hot. So you've got that diverse range, and then you've got the economy as well, and the amount of people over there, and just so many things going on. It's I've been to the States a few times, and I keep coming back because there's just so much to see. And but it'd definitely be the States for me, I reckon.
Well, that's wonderful. I do enjoy those answers, and I don't think, and in the long run though too, and I suppose it makes sense here as we're talking about that. And I've already kind of given away myself. I mean, Australia is just really one of my favorite places in the world. I want to go there. Similar in a sense to Tony though too, is, you know, I've never been there. I'd love to go see it. I would just love to, you know, just to go see the, you know, all of these just amazing things I've, you know, read about and thought about for many, many years. But ultimately though too, and not to knock Australia and gardening, you guys got amazing gardening scene and all that stuff there in Australia as well too. But if I was really going somewhere else and I wanted to go search out some gardening, I'm going to the UK, man. You guys garden up there, bro. You know, it's just
that's true.
You guys are just gardeners, and there's so many amazing gardens, and I could probably just spend, you know, days and days touring just some of the most fantastic gardens and all of that sort of stuff. So my answer is I would go to your guys' country, you know, if it came down to it.
It's funny though, isn't it?
Great
because you
question,
never end up
Will.
getting around your own place. It's like there's so many massive gardens in the UK, like Kew Gardens, that sort of place, and the Eden Project
amazing.
and stuff. And I probably haven't even seen 70% of those gardens in my own country, and there's me going, oh well, I'd like to go to America because, but it's sometimes you just don't know what's on your own doorstep.
Yeah, that's right.
True. That's true. When it comes down to it, I guess in ways, why it really is kind of a good question, great question, Will, is that really in some ways we all got somewhere else we'd like to be. You know what I mean? And that's really the case in those situations. I do love where I'm at. I do like my home and my garden and all that sort of stuff. But if I was to go somewhere else, those would be the reasons and where I would go for sure. So here, let's wind this down. I do want to get to this one question. It was in really earlier and everything too, and I wanted to kind of save it towards the end though too, because a lot of folks who view and watch our show and all of that are a lot of them are smaller channels. So I thought I'd get a little channel question in with you guys and talk a little bit about that. So Big Will Dog was asking earlier too, another question from him is, at what point did you really know that you had an audience, that something was happening with your channel? You know what I mean? You guys both have two just really good-sized, exceptional gardening channels, and I'm sure there was some point along the way. And not only that too, though, let's also put this out there as well, is that you guys are really both a couple of the OG gardening channels too, like original gardening channels from way back when I was first starting to watch gardening channels 12 years ago, maybe, or something, right?
14.
More when it comes down to it. So you guys have been around a while too doing this. You really are leaders in our gardening community when it comes down to that. At what point, as you were going along too, and I'll start with you, Tony, at what point were you really kind of noticing, hey, maybe I got something here, there's an audience here, maybe I need to take this somewhere else?
I never started the channel to build an audience, and that's the thing. I started the channel in 2007 just to store footage because Google had just bought YouTube, and I thought, well, they're offering me free storage here. It's either that or go and pay hundreds of pounds for memory sticks. And so I started it originally just as a diary, and then for about 5 years I just bumbled along, and I was just recording what I was doing. And it wasn't far from around 2012, I realised, hang on a second, I've got like 1,000 subscribers here, and they're all asking me questions all the time. So it took me 5 years to get 1,000 subscribers. And it was about that time, Mark, actually, that I hit you up about the poultry feeder. And about 2012-ish, something like that. So we've known each other a little while.
Yes.
And it was that time I thought, oh, people are actually talking, they must be watching. Well, and then I got rid of all of the videos that I just filmed just for my own benefit, and it was then I started making videos to try and help other people. But like everything else, I had no idea what the possibilities of YouTube was, how to do a video. And if you look back at some of them videos in 2012, I'm swinging the camera around like this, and it's dreadful because I couldn't afford a camera. I mean, I was using this dodgy camcorder thing. The footage was dreadful. I had no idea how to edit. Probably a lot like a lot of people coming into it now, only that there was no one else really doing it. And that was the thing back then. We were finding our own way. There was no algorithm as such, apart from like the answer girls that were all over the place that you'll know about, Mark, and but that was the thing, and we just sort of I found my way through, and eventually probably we'd gone to 2012 when I thought, right, I'll start making videos. And it was probably around about 2015 or 16 did I really start falling into, I can make a video now and I know what I'm doing. Don't get me wrong, still now I'll put out videos and I'm thinking, Jesus, why the hell did I film that? You know what I mean? So, and that's like 18 years on, like,
right?
So true.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's good, and that's a really cool. And again, too, great to hear that sort of stuff again. Why, again, there's a lot of smaller folks with smaller smaller channels, and folks doing that sort of stuff. And it's good to hear that sort of stuff in the long run. I shared with everybody about kind of how much we're making and doing things and that sort of stuff. And I think these are just good things for newer people to kind of hear and see, and what other folks' experiences are, especially like yourself, Tony, who's been doing this again. It's 18 years. Wow. And that's,
I mean, my children haven't known anything else other than me being a YouTuber.
Right,
they grew up in the garden with me. There's videos there of me dragging them around the garden in a pram, and they're 15, 16, and 21 now. So
wow, yes, fully grown right through it all, everything. That's great. And I'll just say though, Mark, that one of the things I remember, and I've followed both of you guys since the beginning and all that stuff, because I was just so hungry for garden information, and it really didn't matter where it came from. And I just remember this just really cool, fun, entertaining guy from Australia is just popping up in my YouTube feed, sharing all this gardening stuff. And I just started following you really early. And I do remember at this point in time where you were like, should I continue doing this? I think there was a point where you might have even stopped for a little while and was just kind of wondering whether or not this was something you were going to continue to do. But then I remember you came back and you were like, this is what I'm going to do. You had this kind of like moment where you were like, you know what, this is it. I love this. This is what where I see my future, and I'm going to start putting my time in it. And then it was just amazing to watch when you saw someone just go, I'm doing this, and then where it went and where you are today.
Skyrocket.
You know what I mean? Just blew up. And
it did blow up.
Couldn't have happened to the best, one of the best human beings in the gardening community, for sure, when it comes down to that. But still, it was really kind of cool to see that and watch that happen, and was really inspiring and all that. Can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal for me. It still is today. But I was a very similar story to Tony's. I started in 2011, not to sort of make a career on YouTube, but to share information. My wife said, why don't you start a blog and write down your recipes and how you grew this on that. And then at barbecues, instead of doing these long-winded stories, you can just point them to your website, and then they can read that recipe or whatever. Cut down a lot of time. And I said, that's a great idea. So at the same time, I started the YouTube channel with the same name, Self-Sufficient Me, because I was right into self-sufficiency. I was a home dad. I'd left the military to become a home dad, just to stop the madness and just to have one person at home, let the wife continue on with her career. And I toiled for with these awful videos for 5 or so years. It wasn't until about 2016 when I relaxed a little bit, because I was a recruit instructor in the Army towards the end of my career, and I was fairly instructional, so I had no worries giving instructions on how to do things, but I was very rigid. And I think what the catalyst for me was, I just started to relax more and be uninstructional and be a little bit more me. And I started to get a little bit more traction. And that was that lemon video, how to grow a ton of lemons. I almost done that as a joke. I just sort of was sick of the scripting and the front view camera stuff, which everyone was doing. This is my potatoes, this is my tomatoes. And I was thinking, let's just do something different. And that bit of difference blew up. And ironically, I was in the UK when that blew up. I was on the way to the UK because a mate of mine was getting married at Edinburgh Castle. And as we were flying, we stopped in Dubai. And I had done that lemon tree video several months earlier, and it didn't blow up straight away.
Right.
And I was getting all these messages on my phone. It was just going crazy. Congratulations on your first 1,000 likes on a video. Wow. And then a few hours later, it was congratulations on your first 5 or 10,000 likes. And
you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah. So it was just really that one viral video that convinced me that I could stay on and actually start making a living out of YouTube instead of having to go back into the workforce on whatever that might have been once my kids were old enough to not need me as much anymore. Yeah. It was very surreal. I mean, I've been doing it for 14 years now. It's gone pretty quick. I'm just thankful that I've still got the support as maybe not as much, like 2.5 million subscribers. Not only a fraction of them ever watch my videos these days, but they're still subscribed, and I still get a lot of great support from so many lovely people. I just couldn't think of not doing anything else at the moment. I'm still really enjoying YouTube and what I do. It's just good fun.
Exactly.
I think the one issue for a lot of people is they want it yesterday. They're not prepared to go through that growth period like Mark and I went through. And the only reason people don't win in YouTube is because they quit. And if they stick with it, they learn everything they need to do in order to get where they're going. Because it's ever evolving, isn't it? Look how much has changed over the years, Mark. So many channels have come and gone. It's
also
crazy,
a sense of expectations, though, too. I think in the long run, when you're first getting in there and doing all that stuff. And for me, as I've mentioned to everybody, as I got in this, to kind of just see if I could do what you guys were doing. You know what I mean? To see if I could have some fun at it, to do whatever. And I really never imagined that, when I got my first 100 subscribers, that 100 people, you imagine a room of 100 people, right? That they had clicked onto my channel just to come and follow along with me. So that was just really amazing, let alone to, to reach that first 1,000, to reach monetization, to be able to start doing some of these stuff and see these things going and everything. And in the long run too, like you say, Mark, is I just really enjoy and I have so much fun with all of it that even if it is just what it is, you know what I mean? And even if it's, this is really all that it is, for me, and I enjoy coming here every weekend, hanging out with this community that's built up. Cause like you said, this is a wonderful community. The gardening community is amazing in in so many facets and all different ways that it's just amazing. And I just love being here and doing this, whether it's making the videos or these live streams and stuff. So I really, like you said, I can't imagine doing anything else.
Like Mark said with his lemon video, that took off and it didn't do it initially. And I had a similar thing with one of my videos, which was avocado. And that video, when I first launched it, did 4,000 views in a year. This wasn't like 4,000 views in a day or anything like that. It took a whole year to do 4,000 views, and the next year that video took off, and within the space of 4 days done 1 million views. So you never know. Every video you make is an asset. You never know when it's going to go.
You don't.
For me, that video was a flop, and the worst thing was I put so much effort into it, and I just couldn't understand why it didn't go. And it was just timing. It just wasn't right for the audience at that time. And when it was right, it just went. And it's the exact same thing with Mark's lemon video. It went at the right time.
Yeah. And I have a very, even at the, for my size of channel and everything as well, I've got very similar experiences with my videos. In fact, I've got like my best video, 250,000 views, a little over on one of them. That one took nearly a year before I started seeing anything. It probably sat under 1,000 views for almost a year or so. And then next thing you know, it's like, whoa, what's going on? Similar, and then, and then I've got one right now that's now starting to be one of my leading videos that's still from a couple of years ago.
It's cumulative, isn't it?
It's just some hit and start going. And usually as they start going, they do kind of have little stretches, you know what I mean? And we'll kind of do everything if it starts going. But, it's kind of fun to see that, though, huh?
And that's the key, like Mark, you make evergreen videos. It's the same information year in, year out. So it doesn't matter for that video, whether it's like I have a 10-year-old video that is still doing probably 5,000 or 6,000 views a month. 10 years old, and then those accumulate across your entire portfolio. And every single week you're adding more videos to that portfolio, so it's growing, and that's where like you get that compounding growth that new channels don't understand. It's coming from timing. It's not coming from I want a video that's going to do 1 million views tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. It's compounding, and that's where it comes from.
And the more videos you do, the better you get at it as well.
Absolutely.
You know, like Tony said, though, I still cringe at the videos that I do.
I just did one, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, did I really do that?"
I don't think I'll ever, you know, be out of the amateur to the professional as far as videography and that goes. But my heart's in the right place, I hope. And the more that I do, the better I get at actually at least presenting the information. So people will forgive the poor camera work and the lack of good editing if you can give them something, give them some good information.
As long as you've got good information and good sound, you're golden.
Yeah, sound. Yeah.
Sound's the big one, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right on, guys, man. I'm telling you right now, I feel like I'm stealing your time from you right now.
I was going to say, Enoch, I'm going to have to shoot this maybe the 70th.
Yeah, we're way over right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get this going here and finishing up again. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today, talking about all this gardening around the world and sharing some information about your channels there. Really do appreciate all your time and coming to hang out with you. Like you said, it's just huge too. Again, too, another thing to see you guys come over here and do this stuff and participate and be a part of these types of shows and stuff, because that's inspiring other people too, to see you guys out here in the gardening community sharing and participating with things like that. And I really appreciate that you come here to do that as well, and so thankful for it. And again, we'll let you guys go here. If you do want to stick around, I don't know, Mark, or anything, you can do that. I'm just going to finish up here and get things going. Again, really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Guys. See you soon.
Thank you. See
you, Mark. Bye.
Yeah, see you, Tony.
Let's Get Growing is sponsored by IV Organic.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with IV Organics, where we grow cool plants and author Saving the World with the Home Garden. IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
Oh, I gotta make sure. I gotta remember that. Anyways, again, wow, what a great conversation with those guys. I mean, just so much great information, and it's so cool to be able to hang out with them and talk gardening, talk about all of the different, aspects of our gardening experiences and all that sort of stuff with those guys. Again, really inspiring to have them around with us and to talk with us. But also, too, again, we are really running late today, so I really appreciate them taking the extra time with us today to be here. I really appreciate you all hanging out with us for that little bit of extra time here. I do also want to really make sure I'm gonna let you guys know too, next Saturday on the show, we're kind of running and getting things back to normal. So I wanted to kind of set it up by doing a community show next week. So that's what we're going to do, getting things running and back together. You guys are the audience for our community shows. We've been having so much fun doing these this year. So come join with us, especially those of you who have those small channels out there. If you've got a small channel out there, definitely come join us for this community channel. I'm going to hand you all out the link to come and join with me here live with us and be on the show. So for all of you brave folks who want to come on and come talk about what's growing on in your garden, come join with us. Those of you who are in our chat, you want to meet and introduce yourself to everybody, come and join with us. We've had so much fun with this. We've got to meet lots of really great gardeners from our community and lots of really cool small channels as well too. So get the word out, let everybody know next Saturday you all are the audience for the show for our community show next week. So thank you so much, everybody, for getting the word out on that. And I literally look forward to seeing everybody next Sunday, though, too. Another Sunday edition of the show. We've got our good friend Scott Wilson, Master Gardener Scott Wilson from the Gardener Scott channel, is going to join with us for his second Sunday of the monthly gardening Q&A with us here and answer all of your gardening questions. So again, too, it'll be great to have him back. We're kind of wrapping around to 1 month later since we first started dealing with all of our issues around here, but it'd be great to catch back up with the Scott here next Sunday too. So don't miss out on that show. And of course, also Sunday after that, every single third Sunday of the month, each and every month, we have our monthly gardening book club. I talked about this just a little bit earlier. If you haven't got to check out our monthly book club, you're going to want to check it out. You're going to want to participate. This is a little bit different than most of your book clubs out there because we get to have the author with us here for the book club. And this month's book is The Triumph of Seeds by Thor Hansen. This is just an amazing book. I'm really, really loving this book, you guys. You're not going to want to miss out on this conversation for sure with the author Thor Hansen talking about his book Triumph of Seeds on the third Sunday of the month. So definitely come and check that out. And before you head out here too, like I said, I'm going to hurry up right out of here. But before you head out, definitely click that like button real quick. Thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. Click that bell notification to be notified of all of our upcoming videos and Let's Get Growing shows coming up. Share with all of your friends. Please, please share. Let them know about our community show coming up. Let them know about all of our great guests that we have here with us each and every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. for all of you over in the UK. And of course, it's bright and early. Thanks, Mark, again, 4 a.m. over there in Australia. But awesome to have you here with us today. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us today and hanging out and enjoying this really, really awesome show with these really, really amazing guests. And I see all of you guys this very next Saturday for our community show. I'll see all of you then.
Power out.